Speaking of that, what do you guys think of this heavyweight tournament so far? Like, what do you think of it? Like, do you really think? I mean, granted, I know that these are basically the only heavyweights that Strikeforce has, but I don't know. What do you guys think of it?
I think for starters, they dragged it out far too long.
Yeah.
Far too long. But in watching the last one, I don't know really who they've got that's going to go over to the UFC and present really any problems at the heavyweight division. Like everybody, all the professionals had counted out Karatanov. I personally think he's going to win it. I think it should come down to between him and Barnett. And I think that's going to be a hell of a fight if it does get that far.
Well, I mean, they're actually in the next round. It's Barnett and Karatanov and Giant Silva and Reams, so they are going to fight.
Shit, I fucked that up.
That's no big deal, dude. Like, I fuck things up. People always correct me on that. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. But, yeah, I mean, that fight's going to happen. I don't know about Karatanov, man. I mean, like, he almost reminds me of another, like, Crow Cop. Great in the stand-up. You know what I mean? Like, but anything else, like, he's going to get beat up. Like, he beat Andre Arlovsky. Big deal. You know what I mean?
Andre Arlovsky's jaw is horrible at this point in time.
He's lost.
It has been for the past few years.
Right. He's like lost so many fights in a row now that they started to take away his wins. I love Arlovsky, dude. It's just that, like, I think it's time for him to stop. He's just getting knocked out left and right. And, you know what I mean? So I really don't find that as a huge accomplishment anymore. Maybe 5 years ago, if he would have knocked out Arlovsky, I would have called that an accomplishment. I think Barnett's going to beat Karatanov. I really do. I think he's stronger than him. I think he's going to take him down. I think he's going to tap him out, dude. Barnett's a former, you know what I mean? Like, he's a former UFC champ. He's a beast, man. He just got kicked out for steroids.
I mean, let's remember, man. He beat Randy. Didn't he beat Randy Couture for the title?
That was so long ago, I can't even remember.
I can tell you.
It was a long time ago. I don't know, but you're on the right track. Like, Barnett has enough. He has enough fights in like everywhere. Like, he's fought in the UFC. He's fought overseas for so many years. He definitely didn't have any hammy fights over in Pride either, you know, and then he gets picked up by Strikeforce and he's manhandled a couple guys thus far, and come on, I don't think anybody, I mean, if you really know your fighters, I don't think anybody counted Brett Rogers as beating, Barnett. Come on.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. He had a puncher's chance possibly, but Barnett has something that a lot of fighters don't. He's smart. He comes off as this goofball, look at me, I'm a pro wrestler, like his whole little speech after his win, you know.
Oh, that was so much better to listen to Gus Johnson, though. Come on, we got to give him that. Gus Johnson is like the worst
the microphone away from that guy.
That was fantastic.
You know.
Even Rogan at his most stoned day is a much better interviewer than Gus Johnson will ever hope to be. Ever. Jesus Christ, Joe Rogan in a coma is a better interviewer than Gus Johnson.
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
I liked how in the tournament all three announcers kept messing up the fighters' names and stuff. It was awesome. Great. I was like, what the who the hell are they talking about? I have no idea.
Yeah, that broadcast team's hurting.
Barnett has never fought Couture. Oh yeah, he did. There it is, right there. UFC 36. He beat him in 2000.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think Barnett's a joke by any stretch. I think those are the only two that really have a chance of going anywhere. I think we seen how Overeem's gas tank runs, and if you put him against any of the heavyweights, even Big Country has a better gas tank than Reem does, and I think Big Country beat him too, in my opinion.
That'd be an awesome fight. I'd love to see it.
Here's the thing about Reem. I like Alistair Overeem, and I think he's catching a lot of unnecessary negative slack for his fight against Verdum. I personally didn't mind that fight, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know. Did both you guys watch it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched it.
All right. You have Overeem and Verdum. The first time they fought, Verdum tapped him out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a guy who's coming back. You know, he's much bigger, much better than what he was when they first fought. But you also have a guy in Verdum who's much bigger and much better than when they first fought. So in the back of Overeem's mind, it's like, okay, this is my revenge fight. I know that this guy is better than me on the ground, but I know that my stand-up has improved by 150%. So I'm going to do everything in my book to not go to the ground with this guy. And you can obviously see that Verdum didn't want to stand with him, and you can obviously see that Overeem didn't want to go on the ground. So you see the fight that we had.
But here's the thing, though. When they did stand up, I swear to God, Verdum landed more cleaner shots in the stand-up than Alistair did.
I don't know. I think a lot of it,
I may have been watching a completely different fight from other people, but everybody was like, I jumped on Twitter and stuff and was like, oh, man, what the hell? And people were just like, they're like, fuck you, Alistair Overeem's awesome.
Well,
that's the new fan though. That's the bandwagon jumping fans though, saying that. Any true diehard fan that watched that fight knows that Verdum was out punching Alistair Overeem.
He did, and now I still say that Alistair is going to win the tournament. I'm not going to change my, even after that fight. I think honestly, both fighters kind of fought like a bitch fight, to be honest with you. Right. You have Verdum trying to pull guard out of thin air, and then like inviting Alistair to the ground. Yeah, that was funny the first time he did it, but after the 35th time he did it, it wasn't funny anymore. It was just lame.
He's sitting there like putting his hands together, begging him to come down. Like, are you a fucking idiot, dude? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to come down. I mean, stop begging me to come down. That's like a thief standing outside my apartment begging me to let him in to come steal my shit. It makes no sense. I mean, he's not going to come down. I mean, obviously Overeem wants him to stand, and yeah, it's ridiculous. I think that Reem and Barnett are going to be your final. I think that's going to be your final fight.
I think so.
Because Giant Silva, I don't know. Yeah, he's big, dude. He's really big, but I mean, Overeem's really big too. I mean, they're both going to weigh in at 265 pounds. They're both going to weigh in at 265. I can almost assure you of that. So I mean, it's not that. I mean, yeah, sure, Silva's a little taller than him, but Reem's a big boy, man. He's a big dude.
You have to look at how Silva finished Fedor basically by putting all of his weight on him. Fedor, honestly, he is a very small heavyweight.
Oh, he's too small.
He would come in weighing like 240. Silva came in when they fought. Silva probably came in weighing like 285. I mean,
right.
You get that whole day or whatever to pack on some weight again. I mean, he just simply like was too much once he mounted Fedor. And then just dropping those, ham-sized fists on Fedor's head. I mean, come on. Now, here's the thing with Silva and Overeem. I don't buy Silva's stand-up game one bit. No. I think Alistair will pick him apart on the feet.
Me too, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see Overeem right back to the old Overeem, and I think he's going to knock Silva out. He's either going to knock him out or he's going to TKO him. Now, I will say, if Silva gets a hold of Overeem, it's going to be kind of interesting. Like, I know that Overeem's really strong. We saw that with Verdum. He basically just shrugged him off every time Verdum had a hold of him. He just kind of threw him to the ground. But Silva's a different animal, dude. He's a big guy, and he's hard to get a hold of as far as, like, he's just massive. And when you are holding mass that big and you're trying to throw it around, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But, Overeem's twice as strong as Fedor is. He's a lot bigger than Fedor was. So if Silva does get on top of Overeem, I can assure you that he's not going to mount him like he did Fedor.
I don't know, though. Reem's ground game has never really been his strong point. I think with his size, he could definitely mount him and literally beat the shit right out of him.
Well, Overeem has quite a few submissions, I think, though, under his belt, though.
I think Overeem's actually. I'm not sure about this, but I think he might actually have more submission wins than TKO or knockout wins in his MMA career.
I think he does too. I mean, I think like he's like a jiu-jitsu practitioner at first, and then he just kind of got into kickboxing. Yeah, he's 35-11 with 19 submissions.
Yeah, Silva's got some big arms, some long arms, and that's I'm thinking if I'm thinking correctly, going back in time, Overeem used to love the armbar. So I mean that's another aspect to kind of think about. But then again, Silva is a gigantic man. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, unless he's just really tired out, I'm not sure if Overeem's going to catch him in a submission like that.
Right. I don't think he's going to submit Silva. I don't see that happening. I mean, I just don't see that happening. But yeah, I mean, he's 6'4", and so he's 6'4", walks around at probably 280 pounds. Yeah, I mean, he's a big boy. So but Overeem's 6'3", so really. Silva's really not that much bigger than Overeem if you really look at it that way.
No, he's definitely not that much bigger for sure.
Yeah, but after size though, you have to you have to concentrate on skill set though, and as far as that goes, you got to give the upper hand to Alistair in that fight either way.
Yeah, I knew who he was, but I really didn't know a whole lot about Silva until he was, in Strikeforce, to be perfectly honest with you. You know what I mean? He lost his first fight in Strikeforce to, Verdum. He beat Arlovsky. Andre Arlovsky took him to a decision. Let's just leave it at that. That doesn't really impress me. But, he TKO'd Mike Kyle and obviously with Fedor, but beating Fedor doesn't impress me either.
Well, in the Mike Kyle fight too, if I don't know if either of you guys watched that fight, but I watched it, and Kyle actually was beating the shit out of Silva for a while. It was only until Silva ended up mounting him, once again, that whole weight advantage thing, Mike Kyle being a light heavyweight, he probably came into that fight only weighing like 225, 230.
Right.
But Kyle was actually just peppering him. And it didn't. The fight changed after Silva ended up getting a mount. So, once again, that whole weight thing comes into play.
Yeah,
and if I'm not mistaken, Kyle took that fight on short notice too, did he not?
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure Kyle was supposed to fight a light heavyweight bout.
Right.
And then he ended up his opponent pulled out and he took the heavyweight fight against Silva.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, yes. So, I mean, hats off to Kyle, and that's really for Silva being as big as he was and in shape as he was, really isn't a very good win either over a last-minute guy who fights in a weight class lower.
Right. Basically Mike Kyle walked into that fight what he walks around at. He's a 205 fighter. He's walking around at 220. He's like, sure, I'll fight. Why not? Then you get a guy that's coming in 280 pounds laying on top of you. I don't care who you are. It's tough to get him off. Even if you have just a little bit of skill set, you have a 6'4", 280-pound guy laying on top of you, good luck. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just, it's tough. So, I think Silva's, okay. I don't consider him a top 10 heavyweight in the world. I don't know. Rankings are very weird for me. I'm not a huge believer in them. I am kind of, but especially the pound-for-pound like rankings. I'm very anti-pound-for-pound ranking guy. But I don't know. I think Overeem's going to TKO him, and I think you're going to see Barnett and Overeem in the finals, probably with